The whole mail-in ballots fiasco is backfiring against the Democrats as leftists accuse President Trump of preparing a coup d'etat. In this video, we're going to look at the stunning admission among a number of prominent leftists that they have indeed lost control of their mail-in ballot scheme, and how President Trump is even now exploiting the mail-in ballots for his own political gain, which more and more people recognize is all but guaranteeing him a second term. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone, patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. If you're new to our channel, we analyze current events, analyze some super awesome conservative trends so we can all live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel, where each and every day we together all over the world celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Also, I am very excited to let you know that we have a big announcement coming this Friday. We've got an awesome new development here on Turley Talks, and it's going to knock your socks off. Cannot wait to share it with you. Now, before we dive into the Democrats' panic over mail-in ballots, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's Prepper's Peak new solar water heater. With all the lockdowns we just witnessed over the last several months, this solar water heater can turn out to be our very best friend. The solar water heater is an amazing device that allows you to heat and boil water outdoors using simply the sunlight. It can heat water in as little as 30 minutes and it'll work anywhere the sun shines. So you can use it to boil water, you can use it to cook noodles and rice, you can sterilize water for drinking. It's easy to clean, it can be used anywhere there's sunlight, and the best part, you ready for this, is that if you click on the link below, you're going to get 15% off. So what can be better? Do not wait. Click on that link below before they sell out and get your own Patriot Sun cooker today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. You know, you're not going to believe the panic that is on the left right now, okay? They are utterly panicking, make no mistake. And they're panicking because they're slowly but surely beginning to realize that their whole mail-in ballot gimmick, that's obviously nothing more than a blatant attempt at stealing the election, the Democrats are starting to realize that President Trump is actively co-opting the whole mail-in ballot fiasco to his own political advantage. And there's nothing Democrats can do about it. The whole mail-in ballot scheme is completely boomeranging on the Democrats, and they're starting to panic over it. Here's how the Democrats are trying to spin their panic. You're going to absolutely love this, okay? I came across this article in The Nation entitled, "Is Trump Planning a Coup d'Etat?" Now, if you don't know, The Nation is a radical left-wing publication. There simply is no possible leftist issue it doesn't shamelessly shill for, okay? But this article in particular gives us a profound glimpse of just how panicked the left is, that they've lost control of the whole mail-in ballot strategy to steal the election, which is turning out to be perhaps Trump's ace in the hole to secure re-election. You're not going to believe this. Check this out. Here's how the piece opens. I just want to set the stage for you. This summer, shortly after scores of camo-wearing, heavily armed federal agents descend on Portland, Oregon to attack protesters, Charles Fried, Ronald Reagan's Solicitor General, pondered the implications of what he was seeing on the streets. Now, of course, here if we were to take stock of what was happening on the streets of Portland, it would be pretty straightforward, right? You have mass riots sparked largely by a lie. A lie that America is systemically racist and that white police officers are extending that discrimination out in terms of inordinately killing unarmed black men. The Manhattan Institute scholar Heather McDonald and a number of other scholars, particularly Harvard scholar Roland Fryer, who is himself African American, have debunked that assertion beyond a reasonable doubt. It's more than just untrue. It's a lie at this point. It's a lie to come out and say that unarmed black men are more likely to be killed by white police officers than any other racial demographic. It's simply not true. But that doesn't matter to prominent people in the media and the public arena who push that lie, obviously for political gain, and then in turn incite riots, okay? And then once these riots ensued, based on this lie, the far left mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler, along with many of his other left-wing compatriots in other Democrat-run cities, or what we like to call on this channel, Democrat-ruined cities, they largely abdicated their law enforcement responsibilities, right? It's widely acknowledged that Wheeler did very little to stop the rioting and looting in Portland, bound, as it were, by his own politically correct ideological commitments. I mean, he doesn't want to offend anybody, right? And this incompetence has resulted in 100+ days of consecutive social unrest in the city. So I think we together could pretty accurately assess the implications of what's happening in Portland, right along with this rhino that the leftists at The Nation are kind of dragging out here in this article. But of course, that's not how rhinos assess things. Rhinos, if you don't know, is Republican in name only. So the article highlights how this rhino, this fellow who once worked in the Reagan administration, and let's just admit that there were plenty of creeps in the Reagan administration. The deep state was alive and well back then as well. So the article goes on to feature how this rhino assesses the situation in Portland, particularly after Trump deployed federal agents to help restore order and peace. Check this out. This is what he said. What he saw scared him. He remembered the use of paramilitaries by fascist leaders in 1930s Europe, where he was born. And how he feared he was now witnessing a slide into paramilitarism in the United States. His family fled the Nazi occupation of Czechoslovakia. Fried felt that President Trump was using the Department of Homeland Security and other government agencies in a way that was, quote, very menacing. You might as well put brown shirts on them. It's a very bad thing. I have a question. What, pray tell, is the difference between this fellow's assessment of Portland and what we would hear from the most radical member of Antifa? What precisely is the difference? When you have self-identified Republicans like this sounding and talking the same way as an Antifa agitator, what the hell does Republican even mean at that point? So that's the setup, okay, in this article. And what the article goes on to do is ask the question, given what Trump is doing in Portland, brown shirts and all, is he preparing something similar if he loses the election in November? That's what these far-left activists disguised as journalists over at The Nation are asking. It's actually very fascinating. They're openly recognizing that if Trump wins big on November 3rd, on Election Day, he can in turn exploit all the confusion and uncertainty surrounding the mail-in ballots that have yet to be counted to his own political advantage. I mean, this is so hilarious if you think it through. You know, it's often been pointed out that the left is horrible when it comes to political strategy. They're extremely impulsive, like the mainstream Marxist media. They live for the moment. They live for the 24-hour cycled news. And they have a very hard time seeing, you know, the wider picture. Trump is a 4D chess player. He's always thinking 3 or 4 moves ahead. And the whole mail-in ballot fiasco that the Democrats thought they could use to basically steal the election, they're now openly fearing can be co-opted by Trump and exploited for his own political advantage. Now, before we get into how, if you're looking for an encouraging and hopeful alternative to all the fake news that's being spewed out there on a daily basis from the leftist likes of CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times, you're going to find no better antidote to that than what's in the pages of my book, The Return of Christendom. Now, don't take my word for it. Just read through the reviews on Amazon. There's like over 150 of them. And you'll see how this book cuts through all the cynicism and despair that we so often feel living in this crazy globalist world. In page after page, I give you all the data and statistics and indicators that show nothing less than a new conservative Christian majority emerging throughout the United States and Europe, and it's already transforming the world into a more nationalist, populist, and traditionalist world. And if you click on the link below, we are offering it for a limited time at a 50% discount. That's right, 50% off. So do not wait till limited time offer. Click on that link and get your book at a super discount today and arm yourself with the information that you need to crush fake news once and for all. All right, so what the panicked authors of this article are getting at here is that President Trump is actually preparing to use the full force of the executive branch of the government to, in their words, illegally curtail the counting of all the mail-in ballots. Now, they're predicting that he might deploy federalized National Guard troops to stop vote counts, which they're accusing Trump of basically doing already. Trump is promising to send in federal agents and even local sheriffs into polling stations to monitor possible fraud. They're also concerned that Trump and his allies could challenge the results in numerous states simultaneously, sending in federal forces into Democrat-controlled cities and activate even right-wing paramilitary groups. They recognize that Trump could refuse to accept state results, charging them with corruption and fraud with the mail-in ballots, especially in light of his landslide win on Tuesday night, which would involve aiming to tie up the whole election process so that the states couldn't certify the results in time for the January inauguration. I mean, they just keep going and going. The imagination of these left-wing activists disguised as journalists, they actually go on to say that Trump, that he could simply just refuse to leave office and allow paramilitary militias to keep him securely and indefinitely in office, since the military has already said they're not getting involved under any circumstances. I mean, it's just so amazing, because if you think this through, these are left-wing activists admitting, this is a full-blown admission that they've lost control over the mail-in ballot gimmick. The Democrats' obsession with mail-in ballots is coming back to bite them as they more and more realize that President Trump can easily exploit all the ambiguities and suspicions and uncertainties that mail-in ballots by their nature are fraught with. And of course, the obvious question to this is, why on earth didn't you figure that out before you Democrats went all in on mail-in ballots? Did you realize that Trump could use this totally to his own political advantage? Everyone admits, everyone, Democrat, Republican, everyone admits mail-in ballots are the most fraud-prone manner of voting. It all goes back to a 2005 bipartisan report authored by the Commission on Federal Election Reform, which was chaired by all people by Jimmy Carter, which concluded that absentee ballots remain the single largest source of potential voter fraud in American elections. This isn't even controversial, but that didn't stop Democrats and their ideological comrades in the mainstream Marxist media from insisting on mail-in ballots. For heaven's sakes, CNN was telling us that, the integrity of democracy was at stake if we didn't have hundreds of millions of mail-in ballots sent throughout the nation. And now what are we seeing? 50 days outside of the election, what are we seeing? We're seeing major voices on the left admitting that this may have been the biggest mistake imaginable. They are recognizing that President Trump can easily exploit all the uncertainties, all the suspicions surrounding mail-in ballots to his own political gain. Would it not be ironic that in the midst of such an exploitation, it was mail-in ballots more than anything else that ultimately resulted in Trump's second term? Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on the colossal fall of Oprah Winfrey, who has descended into the abyss of wokeness. You're not going to want to miss that one. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.